All right, and now I'm gonna open up the Facebook live on Facebook. So give me 1 second here, guys. Let's see. I'm setting up a Facebook Live, so give me 1 second. If you don't mind being patient. I'm not a technical genius, so takes me a bit of a second to get these things done. Share to my group, and then I'm gonna find parenting at home autism challenges. All right. So I think we've gone live on Facebook, or we're going live on Facebook currently. Welcome everyone to, got it. Welcome everybody to this event, Autism Parenting 101. My name is Kyle Jetzel, and I'm going to be your host. I want to let you know right up front, I'm not a technical genius, so if we have some technical snafus, you'll have to be patient with me. Also, this is going to be kind of informal, so I'm going to share a lot of information that is going to be very helpful for you in raising your kids on the spectrum. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and go ahead and get started here. It looks like I'm on Facebook rolling pretty good. So let me share my screen here. Oh, here goes the first technical snafu. I've got to find my presentation. There we go. Now I can share, now I can share my screen. Let's see, share screen. Here we go. All right. Welcome everyone to Autism Parenting 101. My name is Kyle Jetzel. I am the driven autism dad. Some of you already know that by now. I don't have that t-shirt on, I have a different one on, but the reason I have this one on is I'll tell you here in a second. But today we're going to talk about avoiding the #1 biggest mistakes autism parents are making that hold them back from long-term happiness. When I talk about these things, I'm not suggesting it's other people's mistakes. I'm suggesting it's my mistakes. And some of the things that I did, some of the things that I had to overcome and our family had to overcome to really start thriving as a family and start to manage those at-home autism challenges that we're all struggling with pretty consistently. So congratulations for those of you that are here live with me on Zoom. I'm writing your names down. I see one iPhone, so make sure you let me know who you are, because I want to reward you with something when we're all done. I'm writing some names down here, but make sure you contact me if you are watching this on Zoom and I don't see you for some reason. Make sure you do that. Congratulations for those of you that are here, because you're already doing something and you're taking action. It's really easy as parents to start to believe this is our new life, or it is what it is. We've read all the books, we took them to all the therapies, we did all those things, and we're still facing some challenges. And it's really easy for us to fall into the trap of not really taking any more action, right? And just thinking, well, it is what it is. It's a struggle. It's hard, but it's hard for every family. I'm gonna teach you this week how to start overcoming some of those things and really start creating a world where your kids can thrive, not just your kids on the spectrum, but you as a parent can thrive, and you can start to lower stress for everybody in your home. So also, a lot of times I can hear a couple of you guys, so I'm gonna see if I can, let's see here, chat more. I'm gonna see if I can, if you don't mind, well, I don't see where I can do it. Mute, here we go. See if I can mute everyone else. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Please, if you don't mind, mute yourself so that if you cough or something like that, it doesn't affect anybody else. So anyway, congratulations for being here. You're an action taker. That's what my t-shirt says. I need to action taker, right? And that's really one of the biggest things we did that started to make a change for our family, and not just taking action, but taking action in the right direction. That is what I'm going to share with you this week as we go through this. So my goal for the week, hey, Eric, I'm going to go somewhere. Come here and say hi to everybody. Where are you going to go?
Or I'm not going to buy anything.
Okay, come say hi. Look at everybody.
Hey guys.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
All
Have fun, okay?
All right.
Be very careful. All right. That's my son, Eric. I'll tell you a little bit more about him here in a minute. So the goal for the week, by the end of the 5 days, you'll have what you need to remove stress right away, lower stress in your family for everybody, not just for you, maybe your spouse, your typical kids, your kiddos on the spectrum. I'm going to teach you how to do that this week, and I'm going to give you some very specific strategies that you're going to learn that is going to help you do that. Number two, that know you're doing everything you can to become the greatest parent possible. I know these are some bold claims, and I'm excited about that because I'm going to show you how to do that. Way too often we start to question ourselves. We wonder if we're doing everything we can. We wonder if we're doing what's right. I'm going to give you some frameworks that you can plug into. They're going to make you feel comfortable that you're doing everything you can as a parent. And when you feel like you're doing everything you can as a parent, you feel like the greatest parent you can possibly be. Now, does that mean you solve every problem? Not necessarily. But what it does mean is that you're working hard at it. You're feeling good about your efforts. And when you feel good about your efforts, your kids are going to feel good about your efforts. You're going to see results from those things. And the third thing is to start creating a world where you and your kids can thrive. My son, Eric, who you just met, is more severe. He's level 3. But you just saw he's going to Walmart. He's going to hop on his bicycle, go to Walmart. He has a little debit card that I put a little money on. And he has learned to regulate himself. He's prone to outbursts, even to violence, aggression. But he has learned, based on the strategies I'm going to teach you this week, how to manage himself, how to manage his emotions, how to regulate himself so that he can run off and do things on his own. And he loves it. He loves being able to go out, go to Walmart. He might buy himself some chips or something. Usually it's chips and ding dongs and chocolate milk, really, the real healthy stuff that our kids love. But the idea is that he can get out and do things on his own. And I'm not so worried about him because I know he knows how to do these things based on the strategies I'm going to teach you, right? But our goal for today is I'm going to share with you why it's not your fault, okay? Too often, I think as parents, we start to get down on ourselves because we've done everything the experts have said. We've read all the books. We've gone to all the presentations. We've seen all the seminars. We tried everything we can think of, but still, there's so much stress in our homes, the outbursts, the violence, the meltdowns over and over, the hitting, biting, scratching. I got a list here of things that my sons have done, not just Eric, but I have 2 sons on the spectrum. One is level 2, a little bit more higher functioning. Well, I'll talk about him too. So the goal for today is why it's not your fault and what we can do to start moving forward from that. Okay, the agenda for the day. Who is Kyle and who cares? Who am I? I'm going to tell you who I am and why you should care. We'll talk about avoiding the number 1 mistakes we make as parents, mostly me. You'll probably identify with some of these because as I go through them, you'll say, yeah, right? But we don't know. What we don't know, we can't fix. But now that we know, we can start fixing those things, right? Why this event? Why am I doing this event? Will this work for you and your family? That's the most important thing, right? And I'm going to walk through some of the things that are going to help you understand if what I'm going to share with you is going to work for you. And then we'll talk about some homework and contests, right? Again, one of the biggest things we did was we started actually writing down, taking action, making notes. Last time I did this presentation, I had a lady who had at least 1 page of notes each day. And it was fantastic. There are things that jumped out at her that she wanted to make sure she implemented. But when you write them down, they become more real and you can really start applying those things. So you're going to have homework. I'll show you where you can do that. It's real simple. You just answer questions, but it's going to be really powerful you in helping you to create a plan moving forward. And then for those of you that are on the Zoom call, we're going to do a Q&A. For those of you that are on Facebook, you don't get to do Q&A because you're not on the Zoom call. So that's just the way that works, right? So the agenda for the week, let me cover that. What we'll cover in the next 5 days. Today, we're going to talk about the number 1 mistake and why it's not your fault. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about a framework that you can plug into to create a plan for addressing at-home autism challenges. Now, here's what's interesting. I realize that every child is unique. Every child is different. Every family is unique. Every family is different. You got some families that are big, small, kids with multiple kids on the spectrum, some with just one, some severe kids, some high functioning. And I'm going to use terms, if they offend you, that's not my point. I'm just trying to lay the information out there, right? We're going to talk about how to use a framework that you can customize for your specific challenges in your specific situation, in your specific home. What I'm not here to do is say, do this, it's going to work, because I realized that doesn't work. That's what people used to tell me. Do this, it'll work, and it didn't. And so this framework is going to say, is going to teach you how to create a framework for your specific needs, your specific family, so that you can start to solve and face and parent some of those at-home autism challenges and start to get results. And by results, I mean lower stress, help your kids, like my son, regulate his emotions, be able to manage himself in public. Even though he's not very verbal, he can say a few words. he still is able to go out in public and do things, and it gives him so much freedom, and it makes me so happy because I had to create specific strategies for him. And I'm going to talk about the framework for that. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about internalizing this stuff, right? A lot of us know what we should do, but we can't necessarily when things get tricky or emotions get high, right? So I'm going to talk about how to internalize the strategies that you're going to create specifically for your family on Wednesday, on day 3. Day Thursday, this is one of the most powerful things I've ever taught anybody. It's the strategy that I like the best. It keeps me grounded. And it's when everything goes haywire, when the worst possible things happen, we start to lose our minds. Our kids are freaking out. They're melting down. Everything's going wrong. And we tend to join in the storm instead of stepping away from the storm and managing it in a way that helps us to help them lower their stress, get them regulated and back to normal, and keep ourselves above it. And the really cool thing about this is, you're going to have to go through these things anyway. I mean, as we face these challenges, when you get frustrated or angry or discouraged or beat down, it's exhausting. But when you know what to do, when you have a plan to address these things, it's exhilarating, right? You follow your plan and you start to get results, and you stay a great parent. You feel like the greatest parent in the world. And when things are over with, you feel exhilarated, right? I rarely feel exhausted anymore. And I'll tell you why here in just a minute, okay? And then on Friday, we're going to talk about your action plan moving forward. This is exactly what we want you to do moving forward. When you leave here on Friday, you're going to have a plan, and you're going to be able to act on that plan and enact that plan no matter what situations you're facing with your kids, no matter the size of your family, no matter if your spouse won't support you. That was some of the things I was facing for a while. All those things we're going to cover. So I have a message here. These classes will be available to watch afterwards. Yes. Thank you for asking that question. I'm going to post them so you can watch the replays. I do want you to know that if you do have a spouse, and I see a couple of ladies on the call here, it's not unusual for most of my people that are on these to be women, which is perfect. You're the ones that deal with it on a day-to-day basis the most. But I do want you to have your spouses watch if you can, because there's nothing better. And I'll tell you about this later on this week. When you and your spouse get together, and when you start doing things together, and when you start having the same plans and processes and thought processes and strategies, it gives your kids consistency. They start to really feel it, right? And it creates, and it'll bind you and your spouse together. Just as a side note, I had a lady a couple of weeks ago that I talked to who she couldn't get her husband to buy in, right? And she was doing all the work. He would come home and he would make it worse, which is, I get it. I was doing the same thing for a long time. And after watching this training and getting on board, I talked to him and she said, it's changed our relationship. Dang it, already. Because they're on the same page with their kids, and their kids get that consistency they need from both parents. It's such a powerful thing. So I'm excited about that. So who is Kyle and who cares? Let me tell you about my situation right now, okay? I am a happily married father of 6, and I'm now widowed. My wife passed away almost 2 years ago, suddenly. And so I'm left alone with these 6 kids. My 2 oldest sons are married and have moved out. They live away from us. I have my 2 middle sons who are on the spectrum. One is Eric, you just saw, is 24. He's more severe. He's level 3 autism. And so he struggles with communication, with some of the more severe things, meltdowns, consistent meltdowns, or he used to. We've really worked to where he doesn't have those issues anymore. My middle son, or one of my other sons, Ricky, is 21, and he's level 2. He just got his driver's license. He just bought himself a car. He has a job. He's doing wonderfully. He still has some challenges, communication challenges, but he's doing so well, and people are so patient with him because we've worked with him to understand who he is and what he's about, so they can share that information with other people. And he's such a great kid. And I have twins, a boy and a girl twin that are 15 years old now. And if you follow me on my page, you'll see pictures of them all the time, my family. And I had, up until my wife passed away, what I would consider to be a top 1% happy marriage. And we have a top 1% happy family. Even after my wife passed away, we created strategies for our family. As a matter of fact, Saturday night, I posted a picture. All my kids were here, every single one of them. We were in the living room watching movies together, eating popcorn, having fun. And my two oldest sons were tickling and messing with my more severe son, Eric, that you just saw. Now, keep in mind, he's an introvert, very introverted, doesn't like to be touched or bothered, but his brothers know what to do to make him smile and laugh. And it was beautiful to watch them tease him and have fun with him, and him just giggle and have fun with them. And I have what I think is a top 1% happy family. Now, I had some people ask me, how can you quantify that? I don't really know. I just believe it. I think my family believes it. And it's because of what I'm going to teach you in the next 5 days. So, and it wasn't because I don't have a top 1% happy marriage, top 1% happy family. It wasn't just luck. It wasn't just hope. It wasn't just prayer. Although all those things are important, I want to share with you exactly what I did to go from barely surviving, my wife and I in trouble, stressed out, to thriving as a family over a period of time. So that's who I am. And I have what you want. If you want a happy family that loves each other, that wants to be together, that wants to do things together, that treats each other kindly, that accepts the autism and all the idiosyncrasies and the uniqueness that goes with it, I have that. And my son, my more severe son, can be difficult. His brothers understand that. They work with him. They love him. They take him places. They do things with him. Even though he can be difficult, they know how to handle him. They know what to do because of what we've learned as a family. So if that's what you want, you're in the right place. But it wasn't always that way. There was a time when we as a family were really struggling. I remember when I first had my two oldest sons, two typical boys, I was unafraid to read and learn and study. I didn't grow up in a perfect home. And so I knew I wasn't going to be a great dad unless I really worked at it. And so I was reading and studying and working, and my wife and I together were unafraid to learn and try to grow and try to create. We talked about creating a happy family and how we would do that. And when my first two sons were born, and as we raised them, we had it, right? We had this white picket fence. Obviously they were boys, so we called them feral, right? All boys are feral. They're just crazy. And we understood that that's who they were, but we still had a happy family. Then Eric, the young man that you just saw, he was 24. When he came along, everything changed dramatically. My wife and I started to wonder, have we just completely forgotten how to be good parents? Because everything we tried with my first two sons that worked beautifully and were getting us the results we want, none of it worked with Eric. And stress was out the roof. He was having tremendous meltdowns. He was defiant. He was angry. He was aggressive. And I'll never forget, when he was about 4 or 5, we actually took him over to, let me see what my next screen is here. Here we go. Okay. When he was about 4 or 5, we took him to a preschool, maybe hoping that if we put him in a preschool, that they would be able to work with him and maybe we'd see some changes. Well, after a couple of weeks in preschool, one of the preschool teachers came to us and said, have you ever considered having Eric diagnosed on the autism spectrum? And we were shocked because remember, he's 24 now. This is almost 20 years ago. And back then it was different than it is now. The only thing you knew about autism back then, or the only thing my wife and I knew, was when you thought of autism, you thought of a little boy in a wheelchair stimming. That's really all we thought of, right? And so we thought, he can't be, that was our framework of what we thought autism was. And so the preschool teacher had to describe to us how it was a spectrum and all these things. So we took him in and we got him diagnosed. And I'll never forget when we finally got him diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Severe autism is what they diagnosed him with then. Diagnoses change and they adjust and all kinds of stuff. Over the past 20 years, I remember looking at my wife. She looked at me and we both had this sense of relief because we thought now we can get him the help he needs and we can get our happy family back. And so we put him in therapies. We went to all the experts. We did everything they asked. We tried everything. I'm talking, I have a list of all the things we tried, and it's about 20 different things, everything from therapies, specialists, experts, ABA, BBA. There's just a ton of things we tried. Physical therapies, occupational therapies. We just did all this stuff, right? We even at one point we took some of his poop and sent it over to France to be diagnosed. That's how desperate we were. And we tried everything, and we spent lots and lots of money, thousands upon thousands of dollars, trying to figure out how to restore some happiness in our home. And the reality is, we found ourselves, even though we did all that, we found ourselves on an autism roller coaster in our own home, right? Even though we'd taken all these, and by the way, getting him to therapies, you know how that is, right? It's a fight to get him there. It's a fight to get him back. A lot of times it escalated situations, right? And he would have meltdowns, even trying to get him to therapy. So it wasn't easy to do, but we left no stone unturned, right? We tried everything. And I remember being on an autism roller coaster and just struggling at home so bad. The meltdowns were so severe and they were so frequent. He was so defiant. There were so many things going on in our home. It felt like we were on this autism roller coaster. And let me describe it to you. I'll never forget. One day, I guess he was about 7 years old. He was completely nonverbal. He wasn't talking at all. And my wife decided to go spend the day with some friends and get away. And so all day long, I sat in front of him and I just worked with him to say, "I love you, Mom." And when she got home, he was able to say that to her. And wasn't very clear, but she knew what he was saying. And when he said it, we both just cried. We just felt it was just the highest of highs. And we thought nothing could be better than this, right? And you guys probably know what I'm talking about. When they achieve certain things, you just can't imagine they'll ever achieve. And it's so incredibly, it's this high, it's the top of the roller coaster. Well, within a couple of days, he got frustrated over, I think he couldn't find a Lego piece or something. And he found a knife in the kitchen and he came at my wife and I with a butcher knife trying to stab us. And it was the lowest of lows, right? And then again, when he was 9 years old, he was still in diapers. I'll never forget. We had tried everything. I mean, I had tried 30 or 40 different ideas to get him potty trained. And finally, when he's finally 9 years old, and keep in mind, he had a 7-year-old little brother on the spectrum who was still in diapers, and we had newborn twins in diapers. So we had dirty diapers everywhere. It was overwhelming. 4 kids in diapers at the same time, and one was 9 and one was 7. And I'll never forget the day we finally got him potty trained. And my wife and I cried, tears of joy, right? Well, within a couple of days, he got angry about something, and he, in a fit of rage, he smashed his head through a plate glass window. And I'll never forget holding him still in the hospital as they stitched his head up. And you know how that is, right? Trying to hold this kid still, impossible. And it was just the lowest of lows again. And it felt like this was happening all the time. We'd have these really high highs. You find them asleep and they're so cute. And then the really low lows where they attack you or do self-harm or try to hurt their brothers or sister, their newborn sister. And so we found, and it was just this up and down. And at some point, and I don't know when, but the lows kept getting so low that it felt like we weren't even living on a baseline anymore. We were beneath. We were in this pit of despair. And the stress was overwhelming. And it felt like nothing we tried was working. Daily meltdowns. We were walking around on eggshells, trying not to set him off. We didn't go anywhere. We were losing friends. We weren't getting invited anywhere anymore. We didn't want to take him anywhere because he might melt down or it just felt like we were becoming isolated and losing friends. And it was really stressful. And the stress was overwhelming. Well, I'll never forget one day when it all changed for us. And on that day, we woke up it was a Saturday morning, and it was about 6:30 in the morning. We woke up to Eric, who was screaming uncontrollably. And it was about 6:30 in the morning. And, we jumped out of bed and we couldn't figure out what it was. And typically a meltdown will last anywhere from, 15 to maybe 90 minutes is a pretty heavy meltdown. This one lasted 4 hours. And every time we would start to get him calmed back down a little bit, he'd ramp back up. And he had thrown a brick through a glass window. He had attacked his older brothers, his 2 typical brothers. They had locked themselves in their room to stay out of his way. He had thrown a few things at me and my wife, and it was just a horrible meltdown. Well, after 4 hours, we finally got him calmed down. And you know how this is, right? It can ruin your whole day. It can ruin your whole weekend. And finally, we got him calmed down. And I remember very vividly, on this day, my wife had it, and I had it too. We were just so overwhelmed with the stress, daily stress, and it just built to a point where we just both exploded. And I'll never forget, I think sometimes when things are going wrong or when you're facing challenges, I think sometimes you want to blame it on somebody. And in this case, I'm afraid my wife and I turned and kind of started blaming it on each other and really started hurtling insults back and forth. And my wife would say, well, if you'd have just shown him more love, then maybe he'd calm down. And I'm like, you don't give him enough discipline. And, we just started really just arguing. And typically my wife and I didn't argue a lot. Uh, but at this point, she wasn't backing down. I wasn't backing down, and it was getting bad. And I remember, and when you argue with your spouse, it can set your kid back off. So we were trying to be careful. We were quietly arguing, and I was just furious. So I remember thinking, this isn't going anywhere. I got to calm down. This is going to get bad if we continue to argue like this. And I'll never forget, I put my keys in my pocket and I walked out on the front porch, and I thought, I was enraged in my mind. And I thought, this isn't what I signed up for. I'm going to get in my car and I'm leaving, and I'm never coming back. This is not the life I had planned. This is not what I want to do in no way, shape, or form. And I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. This is not the life I want, and I'm leaving. And just as I had that thought, I'll never forget a memory of my father teaching me a lesson popped into my mind. And the lesson was when I was about 12 years old. I was playing in a baseball game, and I remember there was the 2 outs, and we only needed 1 out to finish the game. And somebody hit the ball to me, and I was playing shortstop, and I made an error. And the guy got on base, and the next guy got a hit, and the next guy got a hit. We ended up losing. They won because it was my fault. I made an error. And I'll never forget, after the game was over, we had lost. And I went over to my dad, dejected. When you're 12 years old, this is your life, right? And I said, Dad, I wish they hadn't hit the ball to me, because then maybe we could have won. And I'll never forget what my dad said to me. And this is the lesson I recalled in that moment. He said to me, you know what, Kyle? You never want to leave your success or failure in the hands of somebody else. Don't you go down without the biggest fight, ever. Don't you ever go down. If something is important to you, then fight for it. Don't you go down without the biggest fight you possibly can. And so in that moment, I thought, I can't leave. I need to fight for my family. I want my family to be happy. I want my kids to be happy. I want my wife to be happy. I want to be happy. But I don't know what else to do. I've tried everything the experts have told us. I've read all the books. I've done all the stuff. We're still struggling with all these challenges at home. So I did something else my father had taught me. And in that moment, I went over under a big pecan tree in my front yard. We lived in Texas at the time. And I knelt and I just prayed to God. I said, I don't know what to do. Please help me. And I don't remember many details, but what I do remember are 2 things. I remember feeling like I shouldn't leave. I should fight for my family, number 1. And number 2, more vividly than that, I remember feeling like God said to me, you know what? The problem is not your wife, and it's not your kids on the spectrum, and it's not your typical kids. The problem is you. You got to fix you. You got to work on you. You can figure this out, fix you. Well, I didn't like that at the time, because it couldn't be me, right? I'd done everything the experts had said. I'd done everything. I'd read all the books. But I realized in that moment that I had to work on me and figure this out. And I was going to figure it out. And I was going to die trying. I knew how important it was to me and my family and my wife that we figure some stuff out and create a world where my typical kids, where my wife, where where my kiddos on the spectrum could achieve their full potential. They could thrive. They could feel my love on a consistent basis and just start to thrive. And that was the day it all changed for me. And I remember going back inside. It was interesting because I went back inside in that moment and I committed to doing whatever it took. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea, but I was going to do whatever it took to fix it, to fix me, and then let the chips fall where they may. And I went inside, and I remember my wife was still angry. I think she might have seen me praying. I don't know. She probably thought I was going to leave too. But I said to her, you know what? I'm not leaving, and I'm going to fix this. And she said to me, yeah, good luck. And I'll never forget, it was kind of painful to hear that, but she had lost faith in me. She had lost faith in our ability to have a happy family in that moment. And I knew, okay, I'm definitely going to fix this. I'm going to earn her trust back. And that was the day that I started really looking for and finding solutions that I'm going to share with you this week. So here's the number 1 mistakes I was making. Number 1, the bad belief was, if I could just get him into the right therapy or read the right book, or if I could just find the right expert, or I was experts, specialists, therapists, ABA are not the answer to solving the problems you've got at home, right? We can't farm this stuff out. We have to arm ourselves with more tools, more strategies, more techniques, more love. We'll talk a lot about love. Oh, can you mute yourself, please? Let me see. Okay, I can mute you. Okay. We've got to arm ourselves and quit relying on third party people. It has to be about us. And that's the beauty of this thing, because we can't control anybody else, but we can control us, right? So I'm going to share with you some tools and techniques and strategies that are going to help you to do that. Another bad belief: this is our new life. This must be our new life. And it is what it is. And I think this comes from, way too many Facebook pages out there, too many Instagram pages, too many support groups. They're like this echo chamber of everybody getting on there and telling everybody how tough they have it or all their problems. And so what we start to believe, because we think that's everybody's struggling, so there can't be a solution, right? And so we start to ask for help, and they give us help and it doesn't work. Or people get on there and they say, I just need to vent, and they tell about how tricky it is. And we start to believe this must be our new life. This must be there must be no solution. And I'm going to tell you, that's a bad belief. You'll never start to see success in your family. You'll never start to look for and find strategies unless you believe, right? Hope, faith, prayer, and a plan. And I'm going to start sharing with you a plan here real soon. So although it's good to connect with well-meaning people, we have to be careful that we don't fall into the trap of a big mistake of just thinking this is our new life. It's every autism family goes through this. I'm going to tell you right now, when we started applying some of the things I'm going to teach you over the next couple of days, we went from barely surviving. I'm telling you, my wife and I were on the brink of divorce. My two oldest sons didn't want to live there anymore. Every chance they had, they would leave and go with friends. We turned the tides and made our home at our place the happiest place they could be. They wanted to be there. Again, my kids Saturday night, 2 nights ago, were back, 2 nights ago, all of them are back here having a great time, loving each other, supporting each other. That's what we want, right? So it can be done, and I want you to know you can do it, okay? So those are the biggest mistakes. We've got to take charge of parenting at-home autism challenges. We don't need to start asking other people, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that here tomorrow, specifically with the framework, okay? So why this event? Why am I doing this? So there's a picture of my wife, Shelly. There's our whole family back there a couple of years ago. Excuse me, I'm getting a little emotional when I talk about her. I'll never forget. So my wife passed away 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And prior to her passing, we'd been married for 30 years. And when you have kids on the spectrum, when you have a big family, it's tough to leave them. But we had organized a way for my wife and I to go on a vacation, just the two of us. And we ended up going down to the Gulf Coast and just the two of us, and had time just to spend together. Very rare that we're not surrounded by our kids, and that's okay. But it was good to get away and just be with her. And I'll never forget, this is our 30th anniversary. I had run over to the store and she was in the hotel, and I got back and I had left my laptop sitting open. And apparently she had hopped on and seen some of the emails and some of the people that, some of the families that were struggling. And when I got back, I walked in and she was sitting in the little living room there, the hotel room, with tears in her eyes. And I said, what's going on? And she said, Kyle, I'm reading how these people are struggling and how they're facing challenges that they think they can't overcome. And she said, you got to do more to help them understand and teach them what we know, because we lived that, and it was painful, and it was destructive, and it was exhausting. They need to know what we know so they can transform their families into happy families again and get the kind of family they want as well. And I remember thinking to myself, I've written books, I've spoken at conferences, I had a Facebook page where I was posting videos every day. I'd done about 1,000 videos. And I said, I don't know what else to do. And she said, we documented our journey. Can you share with people what it is that we did that will help them? And here's what she said that really got my attention. She said, what would you give a family that would almost guarantee their success? And it really took me a while. I would go to her and say, what about this? And she'd say, that's not enough. And I would say, what about this? Oh, no, don't do that. That makes no sense. And eventually, what I'm going to share with you in the next couple of days is if you'll follow this plan and be willing to work. Again, I'm not going to tell you it's easy. Be willing to work. The work, though, you're already working super hard now, you know, and you're still struggling. Why not work on stuff that actually gets you the results you want? And so that's why I'm doing this event. I want to share with you what we did, the details of what we did and how we did it. That if I put it in your hands and you're willing to work and willing to apply the things that I'm going to teach you, it's almost going to guarantee your success. You're going to have to be the reason you're going to have to be the reason this works. But I know if you'll follow this process, you will get the results. And I've seen family after family that I've worked with now that has followed this process and has gotten these results. And I get these reports back from them, and it makes me so happy to see that. So that is why I'm doing this event. Now, you may be thinking, I want to give you just a few of my excuses when I first started, right? Well, my family is different. My family is unique. My child is unique. What you're telling me won't work with my child. Stay with me, because tomorrow I'm going to talk about creating custom strategies for you and your unique situations. There's no training unique enough for us. My spouse is in charge of the kids. If your spouse is in charge of the kids, you need to get together and watch this together. You both need to watch this so that you can start to work together and create strategies together that you can both use together and give your kid consistency so that they can see that you're on the same page and you can start getting those results you're after. My spouse won't support me. Hey, my wife, Shelly, for the first 2 or 3 years, didn't trust me. I would do things and she'd say, she actually kind of turned Eric over to me. I'd come home from work and she would say, I'm out of sorts. And I would say, I got it. And I would just jump right in and start applying strategies. Eventually, when she saw me having success, she joined in, right? We have different parenting styles. My wife and I did too. Using this formula that I'm going to teach is going to put you together and really help you. I don't know what else I can do. That's probably why you're here, right? You've tried everything else. You're kind of at your wit's end, but you don't want to leave any stone unturned. That's why I'm so excited you're watching this. If you're watching this, then you're willing to try whatever it takes, right? You know the value of giving your kiddo a life that's exciting and fun and giving them every chance to achieve their full potential. One of the only reasons I think Eric, my 24-year-old, can go over to Walmart, the one you just saw, is because of what I'm going to teach you. The only reason my son, Ricky, got his driver's license and a job and a car is because of what I'm going to teach you, okay? I had a family a while back said, that sounds like too much work and time. You know what? You're already working like a dog. You're already working so hard to make sure your kids, and you're exhausted from it, right? What I'm telling you is when you do the right work, have the right strategies and the right tools, you won't feel exhausted. You'll feel like a great parent and you'll get results. You're already working hard. Just do the right kind of work. That's what I'm going to share with you. I'm already exhausted. I talked about that. I'm an average person. Believe me, nothing special about me. I graduated with an average GPA, didn't go to college, just an average guy. But guess what? I'm committed to giving my kids their very best life. I'm committed to trying to be the best parent I can be. And if you are that and you're an average person, you can do this. By definition, aren't we all average anyway, right? That's why we need these tools, okay? I can't do it all. I can't do it all. Guess what? I understand I have single moms that are working with me that are working this. I have single dads. I'm a single dad now. You can do it. It's worth it. It's worth it for your kids and for you. Those of you that follow me on my page, you see how happy I am. You see the things I do. You can probably feel my spirit. It's because I'm doing the right things for the right reasons and I have a plan. That's what we're going to share. I hope my kids on the spectrum grow out of it. This is risky. ABA therapy specialists are the answer. I've met so many parents that did everything they were told and still struggle with at-home autism challenges. Now, I'm not saying ABA therapy specialists, whatever you want to try, gluten-free diets, medications. Some of us need medications. Some of us do non-prescription stuff. I say try it all. Leave no stone unturned, right? But what I am saying is this. ABA therapies specialists, they do what they do and they do it well as medications, as well as non-prescription medications, gluten-free diets, all that stuff works. It is what it is. And I'm not saying don't try it, but I'm saying if you're struggling with at-home autism challenges and you've done all this stuff, then this is your answer, what we're going to cover, okay? It's going to be okay. It is going to be okay either way, level conquer all. You know what? Not necessarily. I hesitate to share this, but I was at an autism conference a few years ago and I had about 200 parents in the room, but in the back of the room were 3 young men that were on the spectrum. I didn't know it at the time, but after I spoke, I came back to a booth and I was talking with parents, and these 3 young men kind of stayed away until everybody was gone. And then they walked up, and the most verbal of the 3, they were on the autism spectrum, these 3 young men. he said to me, I wish my parents had known what you were teaching, then they would have loved us. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I'm sure your parents loved us. And he said, no, they didn't love us. I said, didn't they tell you they loved you? And they said, yeah, they told us, but they didn't act like it. And we were the reason. The stress, autism was the reason for the stress. And we were the autism. And because of the stress we caused, it ruined my mom's and dad's relationship. My brothers and sisters don't like us. And they believed because of the results that it was their fault. I even had one of them say to me, he wished he had never been born because then his family would have been happy. And I'm like, no, it hurt my heart to hear that. And I don't ever want my child to think that because of autism and the stress that it presents in our homes, that they're the reason and they're the reason for the discord. And so that's why we need to be focused on lowering stress, even when you have to face those meltdowns or biting or kicking or screaming or smashing iPads or defiance, right? We've got to learn to lower stress even in those events, right? Will anything at all really work? Yes. What I'm going to teach is going to work, and you're going to see it as we go, okay? I just don't believe it's possible for us. This is something you're going to have to get over, right? It is possible that you can have a happy family, even as you face challenges. I do it. So many families I've worked with are doing it now, and it's the results are tremendous. And this is happening to every autism family. This falls back to what people believe because that's what they see online, but it's not. There are families like yours and mine that are doing well, right? And they don't post they're doing well. I'm one of the only ones that does, because I want you to know it's possible. That's why I post those things, okay? So who's this for? Will this work for you and your unique family situation? The answer is absolutely yes. And if you're watching this, you know you've tried everything. You can't keep doing the same things and expecting different results, right? This is brand new. This is going to be some stuff you've never seen before, you've never heard before. It flat out works, and I'm excited to share it with you, okay? So here's the question. What is your reason? I want you to think about your reasons that you're going to commit to watching the next 4 days and applying what I'm going to teach you. You know, maybe it's to give your ASD kids a chance to achieve their full potential, or to lower stress so that they feel loved, right? You could say, I love you all you want, but if they don't feel it, they need to feel it, right? Maybe you just want them to feel your love, and you're hoping this will do that. Or your typical kids, maybe you want them to love their brothers or sisters and not be rejected by them, or not want to get away from them. I mean, so many families who, when their kids, the typical kids, when they can leave, they get the crap out of there because they don't want to deal with the stress. They don't want to deal with the overwhelming, all the stuff. And now keep in mind, my son still has meltdowns periodically, but we know how to handle them. I'm going to teach you that, okay? We know what to do. We know what to do to lower stress for him and for us. And all my kids want to be here like they were. Or maybe your spouse, or maybe just you, right? Maybe you're exhausted and overwhelmed and discouraged and frustrated, and you wonder if you're a good parent. If you follow the process I'm going to teach you for the next couple of days, that's a wonderful reason. And it seems selfish, but it's a good reason. If you can stay calm and cool and collected and manage things properly, even when things get outrageous, it'll lower their stress as well, your kids' stress as well. It's a powerful, powerful thing. And there's my wife and my two boys on the spectrum when they were younger. This is a few years ago. My family took a picture when we were approached by a reality show TV maker who considered doing a reality show on our family. It fell through, but I'll tell you about that another time. But so what is your reason? I want you to think about that. And I want you to commit to making some changes and following some of the things I'm going to teach you. So tomorrow, this is exciting. I'm going to teach you a proven framework that will allow you to start the process of parenting your at-home autism challenges. If it's winning meltdowns, if it's potty training, if it's getting kids to eat, defiant kids, arguing kids. If you as a parent worry too much about their future without you, there's a strategy that you can apply that's going to help you with that. It was my wife created this because that was happening to her. She knew she couldn't be at her best. She couldn't be at her best for her kids if she was so worried and concerned about her future. And so she created a strategy, burnt out strategies, strategies for rage or violence or biting or kicking, right? All these, I'm going to teach you a framework so you can create your own specific strategies. And this is the recipe. I wish the autism experts and specialists, right now, when you get a diagnosis, they say, go do this therapy and that expert and this therapy and that expert and this therapy and that expert. And you think, oh, that's the answer. And the reality is it helps. Certainly, I'm not telling you not to do that, but don't expect it to solve your at-home challenges. That's you. That's how you manage the situation. That's how you approach it. And that's what I'm going to teach you this week, okay? So tomorrow we're going to cover that. What to do today. All right. You guys can see my screen. So I'm going to tell you what to do today. I'm going to go to Facebook. You can see this is my home Facebook page, Kyle Jetzel. There I am. You'll need to go to our group, Parenting at Home, Autism Challenges in a Spirit of Love. Go to your guides section. Here's what you do today. If you didn't watch the pregame video, go back and watch that. And then day one tasks, you want to click on that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and post the replay for this in the pregame tasks here. But what you'll need to do is please complete the following in the comments. What do you hope to learn from this event? Okay. Introduce yourself for more points in the comments. Oh, that's pregame. Whoops, you should have already done that. If you're not, go back and do that. Day one, here we go. After you've watched day one, and like I said, I'll replay if you're watching it now, you're good, okay? What's your biggest takeaway from today's event? What do I really want for my family? And will your current plan get me what I really want? And I've also included a worksheet here. I want you to print this worksheet off. I'm going to click on it, okay? Day one, why are you here? What are you hoping to learn? What will happen? And if you want to email this to me, what is possible if you learn to solve your at-home autism challenges, lowering stress, creating a world where your kids can thrive, right? That's the homework. If you'll go do that, I'm going to give you some rewards. And the rewards include a couple of books. Laugh With Me ebook. This is Wacky, Zany, Funny Stories that we wrote about. Lessons Learned ebook. This is a book we wrote about tragedy, struggles, difficulties, and how we flipped them and made them work for us. We call that the Get Philosophy of My Family. Energy Hacks video worksheet. Now, this isn't Get More Exercise, the standard stuff, right? This is unique stuff we had to come up with in our family because we couldn't even get away. We couldn't go exercise for an hour. We couldn't leave the house. Energy Hacks and video worksheet is going to teach you how to get the energy you need, right? The Autism Dads training video. You want to know how to support your wife and kids in a way that allows them to thrive? This is for these dads. By the way, moms, it's okay if you watch this stuff too, but you are going to hear my philosophy on how we treat you, how we talk to you, how we do things with you. And the At 17 ebook, which is a book that my son wrote when he turned 17, and he talked about how we had helped him to feel loved and accepted, because sometimes they can get pushed to the side, our typical kids, and he talked about how we can do that. Plus, free coaching session with Kyle. Want to get to know me a little bit better? Want to ask me some specific questions? Start doing your homework, and at the end, I'll be awarding this to a lot of you. Go through this. You're gonna need to do the homework though, and it's just a little reward from me to you for doing that homework. So what to do today? Remember, go back to, let's see. Okay, I'm going to go back to your guides. Go to the, let me just go to the page here, right? Parenting at Home Autism Challenges in a Spirit of Love. This is the private group. Go to your guides, right? Go down to day one tasks. Okay. Then go to your day one task and do your homework, and you can print that off if you want to. So that's what you need to do today. And look at that, it's 1:48. So I'm perfect on my timing, and I will reward you. So that is it for today. Those of you that are on, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to log off of, let's see, I'm going to log off of, stop the live stream on Facebook. So those of you that are on Facebook watching this, thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow, if you want, register, and tomorrow you can get on the Zoom call with us. I'm going to do some Q&A on the Zoom call right now. If you want to be a part of that tomorrow, make sure you do this. All right, so stop live stream. All right, for those of you that are left, you can unmute if you would like to. I see a question here, a chat, a couple things. So precious. Thank you. I hope you're not talking about me. I'm sure you're talking about my story. So precious. So I've got quite a few of you here. I'm not going to name everybody. Thanks, Kyle. You're welcome. You're welcome so much. I got Sharon and Jill and Andrea and Rita and Jesse. I got quite a few of you. Please unmute. I'd like to, and if you don't mind sharing your screen so I can see you, I would love to be able to do that, but I would like to answer any questions. I see a couple of you popping off. Andrea, did you have a question? Anybody else have questions? Please, this is informal. No question. You can't ask a wrong question. You can't say something wrong. Okay, I got a question here. It looks like on Facebook. Great. She's great question. She's already asking, I can't see who it is, but she's already asking how she's tried a lot of strategies that just didn't work. And that's absolutely true. I'm going to talk to you about creating specific strategies for your family. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about this in detail. But one of the most powerful things you can do any of these techniques involve diet? No. Let's see here. Well, I lost my train of thought. We've all tried a lot of strategies that didn't work. And there's two reasons they don't work. Number one is because we don't stay with it long enough. And number two is we don't adjust sometimes to unique situations, right? I'll talk about how we can do that tomorrow. But it all starts from having your intention. What are your intentions for these strategies? And then creating step-by-step tasks, right? And so instead of trying to figure out on the fly, we want to have tasks that we set up that we follow consistently. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for coming, chat. And here's another question. Do any of these techniques involve diet? No, not right now. We have tried tons of different things in diets. Our kids have different diets that they do. We have one of our sons on a supplement now, a brain supplement. But none of the things that I'm going to teach you in this week it's all about creating strategies and tactics that you can follow as a parent to get the long-term results you're after. So thanks, Christy. You're new to this with your 9-year-old. Oh, that's fantastic. You know what? It's so interesting because I come across a lot of the people that join these have kids that are grown now and they're still struggling, right? And they're trying to help their kids move to the next level or become. And so they come on and they're like, well, my kid's already solid in his ways. And I'm like, we can still work and fix this. And I have seen a lot of dramatic changes for parents who have kids that are 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. In one case, I have a mom whose son lives in a home and she's still applying these strategies and getting results. So Andrea, I can see you now. Did you have a question?
No, I just really resonated with everything you've been saying. So I'm really hopeful that I can sort of put some strategies in place to help my son, because like everything that you said about the struggles that you've had and things just really resonated with my situation. I mean, my son's only 5, so we're pretty new at all this, but I'm just hoping like the earlier I put these strategies in place, the better things are going to be for us. So
you know what? That's fantastic. And I will tell you, I will leave you with one little tidbit of information, okay? If my child used to get violent early on, okay? And a lot of it was, one of the things that we realized early on is we struggled with, you don't want to discipline autism, right? But you do want to discipline bad behavior. But
absolutely.
what is what, right? And so you struggle with, if you don't discipline at all because you think it's autism, the kids get out of control, right? And they start ruling the house. And mine ruled the house at 6 and 7 and 8 years old. He ruled everything, right? Well, the good news about what I'm going to teach you this week is there's a way to discipline in a spirit of love, right? And the cool part about that is it doesn't matter if it's autism related or if it's bad behavior. You can follow steps that express love and do it in a kind way and still allow you to give them discipline and teach them that there are parameters that they need to stay within. It doesn't matter if it's autism or not. They can't go out in public and beat up on people, right? They just can't. But if we don't teach them that in our own home, that is what happens. I have a lady that came to me and her son, he was 17. He spent 13 days in jail because he went out and he was beating up on his brothers and sisters in the house, and he got out of the house and beat up on somebody outside of the house, right? And so what I'm telling you is this: it doesn't matter if you discipline in a spirit of love, and I'm going to teach you how to do that, then it doesn't matter if it's autism or bad behavior, you still get the message across, and you do it in a spirit of love. We're going to talk a lot about that. So thank you, Andrea, for that.
Yeah, and like the thing is, I don't want to discipline autism because he has no control over that. But equally, I can't have him ending up in prison because he's gone and hit someone because they said the wrong thing to him. He needs to learn the difference and be a functional member of society.
Even if he doesn't know the difference, it's still unacceptable, right? I don't care if you have a meltdown, you still can't hit people, right?
Yeah,
now, my
absolutely.
son, the only reason my 24-year-old, the only reason he can leave this house and go to Walmart on his own is because he knows that, because we've we've taught him in a spirit of love. There are limits and parameters, right? And now he knows. He goes out in public and he might get angry, but he knows there are limits. And the problem is our kids on the spectrum, they don't have any limits, right? Most kids do. Our kids, I mean, I told the story, my son, when he was 6, coming at me with a butcher knife, right? And that wasn't the only time he did those kind of things, right? So we have to be careful that we make sure that we know that the world has parameters, and we teach them those in the home in a spirit of love, not in a spirit of anger or hate or harsh discipline. When you do it in a spirit of love, they react differently too, and they respond better. So, Christy, I see you. Did you have a question, Christy?
No, I'm just listening and taking it all in.
Okay, good. Oh, yeah, I hear a Southern accent, Christy. Where are you from?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Oh my gosh. See, my wife, you got me, because my wife had a Texas accent, and I can hear it when you talk, and it's kind of shaking me up a little bit. I haven't heard that accent in a while. So, yeah, so please, if nobody else has any other questions, I want to open the floor to anyone else. Anybody else have any questions or comments or thoughts? I'd love to hear your thoughts as well on what we're covering. And if I don't, I'll go ahead and close this down for today, and we'll just be back the same time tomorrow. Again, tomorrow, we're going to cover a framework. We're going to talk about how to create strategies, right, for your specific, unique needs, and how to set that up so that when things start to go wrong, you don't have to figure it out, right? You know what to do. And if you know what to do every time and you give your kids consistency, when you change your patterns, they change their patterns. And they start treating you differently, and you start treating them differently. It's really a powerful thing. So thank you so much for showing up. Before you go, let me write down, see if I'm writing down names here. I got a bunch of people on here. Jesse. Okay, I got Jesse, Rita. I'm making sure I have everybody's name so I can put you on a list of people that are going to get the rewards. So, okay. And it looks like Jill.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for doing this, because, this is going to change not just my life, but like all these people, the people over on Facebook. It's going to change lives. It's going to change homes. It's going to make homes happier. So I just really want to thank you for doing this and putting this out there for us.
I want you to know it's possible, and I want you to know it's probable if you'll dig in, right? Because like I said, I'm an average guy. We were an average family. There's nothing special about us. Just the fact that we said, you know what, I'm going to die trying, right? And I'm working with my son right now. He's 24. I put money on his debit card, and he doesn't understand how to spend within a budget. And so right now I'm in a battle, because he'll go and buy, if there's $100 on there, he'll go buy $100 worth of toys at one time, right? And then when he comes home and I say, you're out of money, he escalates, right? And so I mean, it never ends. There's always going to be something new. But guess what? I have a strategy. I have tactics. I'm working through this with him, and eventually we'll get him there. And guess what? If he never gets there, I'll die trying, and I'll be happy that I'm trying, right? If it's worth doing, it's worth doing forever, right? It's just worth doing.
They're
right?
our kids.
Yeah, it's worth doing.
Our kids will do anything to make them happy, to make their lives the best they can be.
I'm not going to give up, right? And so I still face challenges, but the thing is, the reason I'm happy, the reason I feel fulfilled and I want to share is because I can see progress in him, and I see progress in other families. You don't have to struggle every day. You don't have to be exhausted at the end of the day. You don't have to be worn out and feel like there's no future or you're worried. There's a better way to live, and I want to share that with you. So thanks so much for attending. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We kept it inside an hour. I love to do that, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day, okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye.